Brace yourself, gentlemen. We want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me.
Yeah, that's what told me, Bob. Do you know what? That's what we're here for. You just be honest.
If you want to go, Stewie, it's 8:45. You know.
Don't hold back, and if it takes me 3 days to edit it, we go from 3 hours to 20 minutes.
This is Silly Point, an Inside Etown podcast.
Right, hello, welcome to the latest episode of Silly Point. Hosting as always, I'm Dan, and I'm joined in the Etown Icebox today by Carlos.
Hello.
Chris.
Hello.
Cockney Stew.
Yo.
You might be able to guess which order in which we recorded these episodes based on Stew's presence, and a very special guest, Mr. Chairman, Johnny Allan.
Hello.
Welcome, Johnny. So,
Thank you.
Let's just get straight into it then. Where are we at as a club at the moment? We had the AGM early mid-January, wasn't it? Getting towards the end of Feb now. How's 2026 treating the good ship Etown?
Well, I think quite positive really, because again, it's whatever you put into any club, you get it out, don't you? Simple as that. And I think I've got to thank the committee because there's a piece of machinery stuck behind you there that's cost us a lot of money, but we desperately need it to get the roller back working. So at this time of year, we're always looking at being ready and prepared to put a game of cricket on in mid-April. So it's always quite stressful for the grounds team, if you like, and I don't think. There's probably a good percentage of the club don't realise the hard work that goes in, to be honest, by certain individuals out there. But I must say, we're hoping to get some gang mowers soon, which will really suit this club down to the ground. We can't afford thousands of pounds at the moment for grass cutting machinery. It's probably one of the only sports I think that you need at least 6, maybe 7 machines to get a game of cricket on. It's not like football or rugby where you can just cut the outfield, cut the grass, maybe paint a few lines, put the nets up, and then away you go. Stick the corner flags in. But you've got to do the surrounds every week. You've got to do the outfield twice a week. You've got to cut the square with a different mower. Then you've got to make a wicket with a different mower and a scarifier and a roller. So there's all these machines come into play, and this is the stress that we fight with every year on, year out. But
week in, week out.
Sorry, well, week in, week out.
Will Derek in, will Derek out.
yeah. So basically, as a club, this side of the AGM, it's a big thumbs up. I'm quite happy with everything that's going on. I'd like things to have been done by Christmas on the machine front, but that will never happen because it costs us a lot of money. It's cost us $7,500 to put a cricket match on. That's without purchases. Purchases is something else completely. What we have to do, we have to pay the match fees, buy balls, insurance. It amounts to £7,500. Am I right, Mr. Treasurer?
We got the insurance for nothing.
Did we?
Howden's doing a special cricket. I was going to save it for the committee meeting, but yeah, we haven't paid a penny for insurance this year.
I thought they did kitchens.
Some of
I think it's the same group, but yeah.
Yeah, but as I say, all the positive stuff is ringing loud, which you can't always say that, can you? Any club really can't always say that at this time, at this stage of the season. And on top of that, we're meeting other people, and you know yourself, Dan, that Carl's going to make a phone call tomorrow to Sport England to sort some financial help out if they can, if we can get it. So these are all bonuses. We've been on another meeting, Carl and I, this week, because we've joined an organisation called Sported, who support all grassroots, football, rugby, cricket, tennis, bowls, karate, everything. And again, positive vibes from that setup as well. So again, we just need to keep the positives in the club. The more smaller sponsors, the better, really. But if I can touch on where I started as joining the ground staff, I thought it was quite amusing in some respects, but it was quite sobering when we had a lad called Horsfield, didn't we, that helped us prepare wickets. He was pretty good. He was a good cricketer. Started off at Newton Willows, came down. We didn't know he wasn't a lad that you could rely on too much, and sort of he'd leave it sometimes till about 9 o'clock on a Friday night to cut a wicket for Saturday morning or whatever.
Wow.
But that's how it went. But we got by, and it coincided with when I was chairman of the Viaduct Club in 2012, and I walked away from I resigned and walked away from the club because of the negative attitude to everything, not just cricket. And I remember Carl giving me a shout about a fortnight before the season started, and he said to me, Horsfield's packed in, he's not doing anything.
We were paying him at the time. I think it was 30 quid a week. I think.
He just prepared a wicket. He didn't do a great deal of anything else.
But he was always on the last minute. It added to he had a full-time job, and this was his
Side hustle.
his pocket money sort of thing. And he just wasn't, he was always on the last minute, like my dad said. So it was the same that particular season. I was captain. How are you getting on? Are you ready? Are you cut any of this? He said, no, I'm not started yet, blah, blah, but I will. And then he just went on and on and on. And then he said, I'm too busy. And we were like 2 weeks away from the first game. So I didn't know. I had no idea where to start. So the only man that I knew might help me was my dad. And that's where...
I hadn't set foot through those gates for the 12 months. The whole 12 months that I packed and resigned as chairman over there. Because it was... It was and it still is a mysterious, macabre situation, really. Unsettling, and it unsettled me because I couldn't walk in through the gate. I couldn't come in, and it's only because Carl was that desperate to get. I said, "Come on, the first thing we'll do, we'll open the garage doors and see what machine we've got." Now, me cutting grass was like, I've cut my lawn at the back a few times and did a bit of weeding and stuff like that. So I didn't know the first thing. Only the thing that helped me was I liked to play on decent wickets. I was an opening bat by trade, so I knew what a wicket should look like and what it should feel like. And I read a little bit on Google. Went on the.
Is Google a thing there?
Is it a thing? On the website, on YouTube and all that. Yeah. Just to find out basically how you went about cutting a wicket.
How many years ago was that?
That was
14. Did you say
2012?
Well, 2012 I was chairman, so I didn't come back in. Yeah, but 2014 it was, wasn't it? It started the 2014 season, I think.
12-ish.
About 12 years ago.
I couldn't even start the machines. I didn't know how. I'd never done it before because Horse did it all.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, well, they might be working and I can't get them going.
Since I've come over, I just thought you all have done it since.
Well, we've
Since
done
we're
it.
that big.
We've done it a long
Little lads.
time, but that's obviously the reason why we did it, because we had no. That was it. We couldn't go anywhere else. If to pay somebody to come and do what Horse was doing would have been 100 quid a week, probably more.
Yeah.
You know, even in them
About
days.
7.5, 10 grand a year.
So
something
it
like
just
that,
worked
part-time
well,
guys.
and I suppose he was always going to let us down at some point, and unfortunately, he decided to do it like 2 weeks before. No, I was just sort of probably in denial, just hoping that he wouldn't let us down, and then I think we were in the Griffin, I think.
We were, yeah.
And in half time, watching Liverpool half time, we walked up and opened the gate, because we got the keys off him. Opened the doors of that thing that we still use now, and you just closed them again, didn't you? Yeah, it's not for today, son. Come on, go back to the pub.
Everything was bust. Nothing had been serviced.
There.
But I mean, I remember talking a lump of metal here. That's it, just everything blended into one big lump in the garage. You couldn't decipher what was the mowing machine, a scarifier, a roller. There's that much rubbish in there, plus a box of can. Plus a crisp box full of
dead plants.
dead-
I
dead
didn't know
plants.
what it looked
Well,
like.
you've been doing a grow in there, haven't you?
Yeah, basically.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was because he had need lamps and stuff. Don't
Yeah,
It was,
no,
this was
he hadn't done it in there. He was storing it in
the
there
fruits of his
with-
labour,
with
should we
his
say.
bits and pieces, and basically there's half the roof is missing, where he thought he was that high on it. He thought he left his keys in the garage when he locked the garage, and they were in his van. So he broke in through the roof, had a mooch around, couldn't find it, thought, and then got back out and then realised it was an ignition light, So,
Putting the E in Earlstown here. I feel like I'm watching Liverpool like attacking the Cop End here because I'm just constantly looking down. Or should I say watching the opposition attack the Cop End at the
well,
moment.
that's good, that, because that, it's like watching a football match, isn't it? It's interesting, isn't it?
We said we got someone to take them off us.
Yeah.
So they weren't around. Alan Nurse turned up. He was extremely upset as being our West Indian pro, panicking that the police would turn up and immediately point the finger at him,
Wow.
and he was going to go to jail and or be sent back to the West Indies.
Oh, bless him.
He'd lose his win rush.
we had a member dotted about at the time who was experienced in that type of herb and cooking, shall we say, and he bought it off us, didn't he?
Bought it off us.
Bought it off us, and we went to Griffin and spent the money.
Wow. Happy days.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great Saturday night.
Well,
Sunday afternoon.
you probably wouldn't on the first kick-off, 1 o'clock, whatever it was, match day, and you wouldn't have thought that anything untoward.
If you remember, the first game was called off.
Oh, it was because
It pissed it down.
Yeah, it pissed it down.
So all the work we were kind of laughing to each other, thinking all that we've done in that time to get it looking something like, and we didn't actually play.
That seems like an always sunny situation.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah, again.
geez, that's terrible that the game's been called off. Appalling. So that's hilarious. I didn't know any of that. That's properly made me laugh. It's not all sun and roses at Etown in terms of the situation with the social club. And I know you and Carl have been at the kind of in the trenches with that for a long time now. This is the chairman special. We're attacking the Cop End. I'm going to give way to the honourable gentleman, and I'd just like you to kind of bear in mind that a lot of the listeners won't be kind of completely aware of what's going on. Could you, in your words, describe the situation with the viaduct and the problems it causes Earlstown Cricket Club? Because we are not separate entities at the moment. We are under the viaduct umbrella, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that that gang over there have relied on. It's a secret society, and basically, I was just going to lead into it just by saying how I think if I just diverted it a little bit.
Start wherever you want, mate.
Into, I played down here when I was 14, and then, like I say, after the football season finished and all the other lads came back, then I had to move off. Well, I didn't have to move on, but this guy I'd called Andy Scribbin, a bit older than me, he said, we deserve a break. So I went and joined Winnick, and they lost the ground at the end of that season, pitch, to the staff. So we then applied to the Warrington Sports Council and became Appleton Thorn, which are quite big now in the Chester Association. So I played there a couple of seasons and then ended up at the enemy down the road, the Willows, and I played there for a couple of seasons. And then basically my brother Bill, who got me introduced here when I was 14, before he buggered off to Blackpool, got me to play for Norcross for a season or two. And then when Carl was about 11, when we started, we got the junior team with Liam and a few other lads, and that's how I started back playing again. And it was in roughly 1992 when British Railways, who owned the club and the land and everything else, they decided they were shutting the wagon works over on the industrial site here, where it's all nice new houses now. They pulled out the town and obviously offered it to the members for £56,000 paid over 10 years at £560 a month. But obviously, because I'd had that bit of a gap and I only came back in 92, I didn't know any of this. I just came, brought my kit bag like most lads do now, played cricket, go in there, put some money over the bar basically, supporting that way. So
To be fair, the club then, the social side of it, was busy, as most clubs were, without trying. Because you used to say to me, oh, there used to be a pub there, and that used to be full every night. Tuesday night, you go in that pub and it was packed. Round here especially, all the pubs were thriving, every single one of them. You go around town now on a Tuesday, and unless there's football on, or Thursday and there's Premier League darts or rugby league now, it's started back, there's no one in them, is there? So I think we would go in after cricket, even I remember me and Fletch being babies really, and there was something going on, it was busy. So we didn't really, had no reason to think anything negative or whatever, because it was popular. It was a decent night when we used to go in. I remember it being decent, having a bottle of shandy pass and packing it away.
And a pizza
Yeah.
or something. And a pizza, and we used to go. Obviously, when I split up with Carl's mum, like, it was a case of they followed me everywhere. Obviously, our Jen started scoring down here and everything as a youngster, and we'd go in the big room and have a game of snooker and maybe order pizza. And then one day, Lou Chadwick came in and said to me, "You can't take your pizza in here." I said, "Why not?" I said, "Because I've been doing it for about 6 to 8 weeks now." I'm like, "Well, why?" He said, "It's going to cause a mess." So I said, "No," I said, "This is a fucking mess." And I threw it all over the glass partition, like, you know. And anyway, that's one of many stories at the time. So
He was a lot
Don't
calmer in
stop.
that.
Yeah.
Calm
Don't
down.
keep the stories coming.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Well, I mean, there's incidents like obviously when I broke the dartboard, that bloke's head went through dartboard. So
That was Danny Goulding's fault.
it was Danny Goulding's fault, but anyway.
I don't
we
remember
sorted
Danny
it.
Goulding. I got grabbed. Danny Goulding shouted at some fella, relate to Fletch, by the way. No names. He came back in chasing after someone who'd shouted something not pleasant at him. I was the closest person, so he grabbed me by the throat. I was only 17, maybe 16
with that.
16, something like that.
50 or something. 60.
Was you a big lad then?
I didn't know what was about to happen, to be fair. The door opened and the next thing I'm like that, but then he was gone. I was like, what the hell happened there? And I just seen the back of him, the back of my dad had hold of him and was like removing the dartboard with his head, that sort of thing. And then, but the funniest thing was about it, I still was like, what's going on here? Is this bloke who was being smudged across the room, his wife or whatever, had a bunch of flowers. They'd been in a do in the big room. She had a bunch of flowers and she was hitting me dad with flowers going everywhere, as you can imagine, trying to get him prized off this bloke. But that's the old days.
Oh yeah,
We're all happy
that's
now, aren't we?
the old days. But basically, I think the frustration was creeping in then. if you know what I mean.
So this is 92.
This is 92 and
94. If
Yeah,
I was
94,
14,
95.
15, so
Yeah,
slightly
yeah.
after that, after they come back. It's a
Yeah,
couple of years
yeah.
of being back involved, and like you said,
Yeah,
Jem was scoring and whatnot. But yeah,
yeah.
it's good night.
But then, with all the work that goes on during the week, a bit of painting here, doing this and that, the other, or servicing stuff and what have you. I was approached by Arthur Critchley because they had no chairman then at the time, and he thought it was a good idea, seeing the work we've been doing, and thought that thinking about it, I think he perhaps thought I was going to be a bit of a mug, that he could, a figurehead,
Yes,
chairman,
man.
Yeah.
a chairman, by name only. But when I started getting the projects together, and you wouldn't believe some of the stuff, new pavilion, revamped the club, the Viaduct club, so it wasn't all cricket section, it was everything. Mugger, I had plans, I had a company giving me 80 grand to put a mugger on there, on the tennis courts and stuff like that. Loads of
Do
stuff.
you know what a mugger is?
I was just about to say, what's a
Sorry,
mugger?
a multi-use
Down
games.
south, mate. That's
arena.
someone you don't trust.
Right, we've been accused on this podcast of selling out, and I'd just like to assure you all, listeners, viewers, contributors, that we have not sold out. But what we do now normally is, at this time on the podcast, we have a Pimlets pie. And this episode of Silly Point is in association with Pimlets, and we thank them very much for their sponsorship and for being a well-known brand in the local area for many years.
Okay. So basically, it's been a hell of a roller coaster ride for me, this place. But obviously, I've stuck with it. I've had the seatbelt firmly fastened, and I've just become a massive fly in the ointment, really. It's a shame because obviously, at the AGM, when I put all the projects were out on the table, and nobody, not one of them in the club, decided that it was a good idea to look at. Arthur Critchley said, well, what use are these to the club, like, Amazing, really, amazing. So I resigned that night, and ever since then I recently I've made it a passion to seek justice, because they're squandering money. We know, and people who are in the know, shall we say, I don't want to say too much on it just yet, know that they need to get their acts together, and they're not fit to manage any business. And that includes the trustees, of which behind the bar is one of them. They don't like sport, they don't like anybody. So they don't like us. We're known as the bastard cricketers. Did you know that?
Lovely.
And it's mainly because we've always cut grass. So they basically wanted it to go to dereliction, so they could sell it all.
Yeah.
Even though thankfully there's a covenant on the pitch, and they can't sell the pitch for building, they can sell all that crap over there, which is what they're trying to do, but they can't sell that. So we're obviously in the throes of doing a deal, because they've been told, and we've been told by several different people and in the town, that it's useless. That pitch is useless to them because they don't get involved.
Yeah.
But they don't want us having dudes on there. And Carl came out with a good comment the other week when we had the last Billy Allan trophy down here, and the Rotary came along and pitched up the tent, the coconut shy and a stall, tombola, and business for youth came down. We think if it wasn't for them, and they didn't want to show
It could be so good, couldn't it?
it could be the potential.
Well, I think they would have stopped that Billy Allan game.
Yeah, but they couldn't,
because the
because of the
Rotary,
Rotary.
Oh, really?
obviously,
Well,
a
how
huge.
can they stop the Billy Allan game?
Because they don't, like we've just said, they don't want us here.
They've told us we've got to have permission to do anything like
You
that.
have to ask them to do anything.
And
So
they
obviously
wanted keys to
it
this.
wasn't a league game.
Are you going to keys to it?
To the pavilion, yeah.
Do we get keys to that?
7 years ago, we had this place stripped inside, completely stripped. Have you ever seen any photographs that he's put on Facebook? No.
To quite old.
Obviously,
Obviously, before these guys were, these three
Yeah,
in
yeah.
particular were involved, so
yeah.
they're on Facebook, but they're not something that's shared regularly. They're on
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
folders.
Yeah.
It might be an idea
Yeah.
to put them onto the website.
Yeah.
We stripped it completely, and then I applied to a place called the BIY through Sport England, well, BBC Sport. They came along and said, providing you provide the labour, like electrician, plumber,
Volunteer
Johnny.
it yourself as the VIY.
volunteer it yourself.
What it was,
sorry.
what it was about.
And that's what we did. And they gave us all the plasterboard, the studding, a few units here and there, and bits and pieces. Valmar Windows donated that door to us. So we literally picked it up off its knees, and we've since built the pergolas outside, and everybody enjoys it. This is another addition, as you know, but more recently. They've never once wanted us. There's not one of the committee, apart from Bob Williams, who's been in the umpire's room on official duty, and then asked us, could he have a drink after the game? Yeah. And we've got the rugby on, or football on the telly. You get Carl gets an email or a message that you've no television licence, you're not allowed to sell beer. But anyway, that's history. But they also said that we weren't allowed to put sponsor boards up, so they were trying to strangle us out of, you know what I mean, so that we'd just fold.
No revenue,
No revenue,
no future.
no cricket.
I think we thought, like we talked about in my podcast bit, we talked about, you asked specifically about how bad it got in terms of only having one team and not always being able to get 11 men. I think they thought at that point, via the chairman at the time, Bob Williams, who was still involved in cricket, not with us, but he was still involved, knew what was going on. I think their chats were, well, they'll be gone soon.
Yeah.
So that'll be a...
So it's driving them mad now. We've
So
got all these
absolutely.
This
teams
is, I think,
coming.
where the complete and utter hatred of on both sides is now, because their long-term plans, like where my dad is piecing together, and we're doing it now as a committee, we're trying to reach that next. We talked in yours about having 4 sight screens instead of we're looking ahead.
Next level.
They never ever did that. I think they just always thought, well, once that's gone, there'll be houses there, and we'll be able to use the funds to make a bigger bingo hall and put floodlights over the bowling green. That was all they ever really wanted to do, wasn't it?
What people don't realise, especially out there, people don't realise that there's a social club here. They don't know it's there. The ones that Will Derrick has sent to come over and have a drink and watch a bit of cricket, they've been turned away by her behind the bar. You're not members, be careful. She's come out with statements, even when I was playing, when I was first team captain. She said, I just want my fucking redundancy. That's all I want. And she's a trustee. How can you talk like that? It's a conflict of interest, surely. She's the only paid member on the site. Well, officially. I don't know what they're whacking out at the end of the season. But yeah, we're still here, and we're still here with a massive, massive vengeance. We just want justice for sport in the town, not just for the hard working volunteers that we've got. And we just every other club has started to comment on what it's like to come to Hurlstown to play cricket. They love it.
I think Will mentioned it when we were talking to Will, that since he's been on the committee for Liverpool, it's kind of eye-opening, the fact that, you know, we're only in the transition league, but we're one of the most up and coming and expanding clubs in the whole area, considering everything else that's going on and the pressures it's not even, if you just slightly forget about them over there for a second, it's just the pressure that you guys have got to keep up on keeping the club going, looking for money and you know, equipment and things like that. But you know, talking from Carl's one, you've gone from one weekend team to two. You've gone from no midweek teams, you had two. Now technically you've got four.
Yeah.
Now we're going to three of a weekend as well. Four potentially
Top
as well.
Top Guns. We've got our own side.
Oh, Top Guns are still coming in on Sunday as well.
Remember, 2 years ago, they decided to join the club. So they pay £10 to be a member of the club.
They've told me dad as well, Top Guns, that maybe next season they're going to be at
They want to play as Earlstown.
It'll be called Earlstown.
Oh, really?
What's a massive eye opener to me is all of this stuff to do with the viaduct and the ill feeling. And maybe this is my bad on my part. The assumption was it's like been the last maybe 10, 15 years, but 30 years this has nearly been going.
Over 3 decades.
Oh, for 3 decades, that to me is absolutely
nonsense.
In 30 years, no one from, I'm not even going to put which side, no one's actually decided to look for the good of everyone. Can we not just sort this out?
Let's make some money on a match day.
Let's you know, because surely there must be a middle ground of the cricket club can do what they need to stay afloat. We can do what we need, but there must be a ground in the middle where if you work together when the cricket match is on, you know, look, we can get loads of people through the doors.
They won't open on a Saturday. They refuse to open on a Saturday till 7, half 7, whatever it might be. But you know what people don't realise is how long's Frank Ashcroft, the old treasurer, they lost a lot of money. I think it was robbed by the old treasurer, right? So they found themselves up against the wall. So they approached this guy, Frank Ashcroft. He's dead now. He was in his 90s when he died, I think. An old greengrocer with money under mattress.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And they said we need 30 grand for the bailiffs are here. They're going to shut us down. So he said, well, I'll give you 30 grand as long as I can become co-opted on as treasurer. So when he got involved, in like nearly 30 years ago, I suppose, he was then so insular with everything. He wouldn't let anybody see the books, and then it's just spread. It's just like gone from there to there, and it's just been a nightmare. So there's no interest from that club in sport. Not even they don't even like the bowlers. And plus the fact, when they kept saying to us, like, you know, you don't even come in the club anymore, you can't expect the cricket section to patronise that club and keep it going.
No. You want to feel welcome, though. If you want to go in there, you want to feel welcome.
They've got a big room there, and they should be having at least one function every month minimum. Yeah. Minimum. And they've changed the licence, so they can only have how many? 6, 5 or 6.
A full-time licence is expensive, so because they want a cost cut instead of look forward, they decided to go into the temporary licensing, which you're allowed
5 or 6.
5 or 6 a
year. 5 or 6 dues a year.
So you pay a fee. I think it's 28, 30 quid. You get your temporary events licence. Yeah.
We used to go in
but what they would do though, but on the other side of that is a lot of the dues you can't charge entry for. So when we did used to have a presentation, if we ever wanted to have a door charge to try and raise some money, you weren't allowed to do it because that was had to have a different license for that as well. Yeah. So
they've not even got a television. You can't even go in there and watch telly. I can't go in and watch Coronation Street.
Have they got rid of the telly now, have they?
I think so, yeah. I couldn't see it last time I went in, unless I missed it.
I don't understand how you can have a social club that big with a reasonable function room and not want to put functions.
They're just not good. They're not good enough to do what they're trying to do. We talked before about the machines, and I went to my dad because he was my dad when I had no choice to look in there to try and prepare a pitch. I didn't know where to start. I couldn't start any of the machines. I knew he'd be able to at least start the machines. We weren't the best people for that, but we wanted to make it a success. Yeah. So we ended up, it became a success. We then got the likes of Dave Shearer involved, who, you know, he knows a little bit, and he's a brilliant volunteer, and he'll roll his sleeves up and stuff, and other people helped, and we did it like that. They don't have that ethos even from that point of view.
They don't try and generate it either.
Like you mentioned about the TV licence, I'd already spoke to the TV licensing people, and they said, if there's a TV licence for that property, it doesn't matter how many TVs you have,
you fall under theirs.
It doesn't
anyway.
matter where the TV is situated, you're covered. So we already knew about that. But they were like, oh, you can't have one. No, well, we've checked. But I'd spoke to them, and I did that all the time with the alcohol situation.
Yeah.
I knew more than they just assumed that you wouldn't make those conversations because they wouldn't.
They just assume
You just can't do that because of this,
So
and this.
they
And I'd be
assumed
like,
you
well,
just listen to them, nod and smile and go, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah.
hey, the fellas, he's called Chris, and I said, well, I've spoke to Chris, and their faces were just like, oh. But so it was just they just didn't want us to succeed. That's the problem, and it's worse now because, like I said, back in the day when we used to have a bottle of Shandy Bass and whatever, it was packed out. But that's because it was a social norm then for you to go out. Since COVID, especially, you know, participation and drinking in boozes has gone right down, hasn't it? It's not the done thing anymore.
The fact that they received a COVID payment of, we reckon, well, we've been told over £40,000. Now that was to pay her wages, keep her on board.
Well, we were supposed to get some of that. We applied to the ECB fund, the survival fund, or whatever it was called. I can't remember what. Which I think 90% of clubs got. We got knocked back because they could see that the Viaduct Social had received their saviour money, and that some of that should have been sent down, but they wouldn't give us any. And things like the pergolas, you weren't allowed when we came back out of lockdown and stuff. You weren't allowed to be inside here, were you? So we needed a cover to get changed if the weather wasn't great. So that's why we built that. I spoke to someone within the council, and they said all you've got to do is one form. As long as you can prove who you are, because you've just got the automatic, as a Viaduct club, you've got the automatic survival payment. They're doing outside grants for what would you call, like a beer gardens. You would get the money. He said the money's there. They could have had one of those built out there, fully paid for. So when it became allowed to go back outside again, they could open. But they couldn't until the very end of the restrictions because they were indoors. You know, because Joanne wanted to come on here to try and get herself open quicker because she didn't have a beer garden. So she was asking us, can we were like, well, it's not us you need to ask, it's them. But all they had to do was fill out one form, they didn't do it. I even said I would do it for them.
Not interested.
Didn't want to do it.
No.
And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Because they're not the right people to be involved, and that's what worries us potentially about the next phase of the Viaduct's life in terms of if they get the funding that they want for investment.
Obviously, if they get the £1.2 million that they've asked for 2 bowling greens, and the planning is on the table for 60 flats. Where's it going to stop? I mean, they're going to spend the £1.2 million on a new social club on the same site, so they're going to knock this down and build another one, and nobody patronises it. So where's the sense in that? Why would you want, why not just get 1.2 million and spend 25 grand on a bit of paint? It doesn't make sense.
No. Just as kind of like a side pivot for me then, Carl, after everything your dad went through as chairman, remember you saying you jumped in as chairman?
We've always tried, because we've always tried.
Was that because seeing what you wanted to try and help? Was it
Listen,
based on what your dad was put through to see if you can put it right? Or?
We are cut from the same cloth in many ways. I have a better filter in terms of not wanting to directly punch somebody. I like to punch people, but to fall out with someone, so I'm a bit calmer in that respect. But I didn't think for a second I'd go in and could do a better job than he did. I knew I was on a hide into nothing, but we needed someone on the inside because we knew this was coming. So I knew that I wouldn't get, I didn't go in there planning to do what he did in terms of get these drawings planned and funding for this, funding for that. I just wanted to be in there to think, well, at least I'll be involved in conversations. I might not get listened to or get a vote, but I'll be able to then report back to us to say this is what they're planning. But then it became clear pretty quickly that they were having meetings without me being
they're having
involved.
committee meetings, and then obviously on every third Friday in the month or whatever it might be, then I'd roll up with me my file, and which was about that fat. Well, it was about that fat when I finished with all the projects, and they'd be like, "What?" They'd had it. They'd had the meeting.
They already had the meeting without you.
Had the meeting.
So here, I didn't think I could do anything that he couldn't have done. It was just a case of, well, better the devil you know, almost in terms of that.
That's what it was. But I had to get out. It was a case of me walking. Yeah, because I put a lot of effort in that year, 12 months, and that was non-stop. I had £27,500 waiting for a guy to come and shake my hand and give me the cheque for that monument refurbished. And at the 11th hour, they said, "What do you want a pile of more bricks for?" But it was nothing to do with them. It was It was the Heritage Lottery money for a specific cause, and that was for the monument. Meanwhile, a few years later, this builders over here, they wanted to take the monument and put it on that roundabout and do it up.
They wanted it as a feature for the new estate.
And they said no to that.
Say no to everything, didn't they?
3 times you'd knocked them back. 3 times you'd knocked it back. I even, at the time, I was up to all sorts of projects coming out of my ear holes. I actually was watching, I was having my snack once, and I was watching a bit of telly, and Monty Don was on Gardener's World. So at the end of the programme, the credits are going up, and it's got like, contact us. So I just wrote it down, and I wrote him an email, Monty Don. And I put a few bits and pieces together, and I put some photographs in there, and I said, "We've got a problem. We can't get the funding." I said, "We've got a cricket pitch with surrounds that like take most of our effort and time and money." I said, "So I'm looking at any suggestions you might have for maintenance-free areas in these corners." And this guy put me on to a lad called, he's on Granada Reports now, he's in a wheelchair, Mark Lane, his name. And he emailed me back, and he said, I love the story, I love what you've done, you've sent me all sorts of stuff. Now that's a ghost from over there.
That's Bob Williams listening
Bob
in.
Williams listening in.
Stuff a call.
Just passed away.
Yeah.
Stop that. Might have to cut that out.
Anyway, long story short, he said, "I can't come down myself in person, but my brother works."
What's going on?
Works in the utility place in Warrington on is it Warrington Road or Manchester Road? Anyway, he said he landscaped all that, like £500,000 project. So they'd done all that. He said, "I'm going to send him down to where I met him here, 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon." And I was up, like I was on last minute, so he was walking round, this guy, when I pulled up outside here. And I walked across the pitch, and I had some thoughts, because I can draw as well, you know what I mean? I'm a designer, and I drew all these pictures of a train on tracks with like hardcore round, and because they had the British Railways connection, I thought, well, I could get like planters drawn up, and then anyway, he said, "Who's done that?" I said, "I have." He said, "Well, who owns that building there?" I said, "That's a pub, that's the Griffin that." He said, "Well, do you think she'll let us put a mural on it, the 9 arches, and this project you've got here, we'll put it like the trains going through the 9 arches in that corner, and we do it all up. We'll do a similar thing over there, and something round here, just to make, get all." He said it'll probably cost about 50k, but if you get their permission, and it didn't even, he said, "See that club in there, so you get their permission, then I'll do it for you." He said, "But you've got to get their permission." So he knew the story. Anyway, I went in and asked, and they went, "No." Straight no. No. Everything I had on the paper, everything I did had a big thick file. No. What about that then? No. What about that? No. So I got a bit frustrated. And obviously I had to keep, well, I did well to keep me cool, really, because I put a lot of effort in, you know what I mean? A lot of effort went in over 12 months, and they just, like, I didn't realise, but they were just taking the piss out of me. Literally took the piss completely, and I was like so honest and upfront, and yet they did that to me. So is it any wonder that I do feel a bit frustrated, and I do use the F word sometimes?